So we will move on to the next question. In our third question, or our third question rather, is from Raven Khadeja, an educator, an activist who co-funded Black Lives Matter, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Raven Song Consulting. You can see her question on the screen. I've had a pleasure to chat with Raven. She is phenomenal. And this is what she says. In Canada's history, anti-Black racism has always been prominent, but not often named. Indeed, there seems to be a discourse about the ways it affects our society. However, there seems to be a reluctance to address the ways in which movements have engaged in anti-Black racism, feminism being one of them. Raven provides us with 3 examples. The Pride movement, where Black people were often ostracized by non-racialized members of the LGBTQ community. The natural hair movement, co-opted by the non-racialized and biracial women, when it was started as a way to finally center Black women with undesirable hair textures, reclaim their crowns, and finally raise their voices. Body positivity movement, again, co-op from bigger Black women. The trend we see here are movements that are closely linked to feminism, constantly engaging in misogyny. Black women are routinely excluded from the discourse in Canada. Long celebrated feminist groups like Daughters of the Empire were key in ensuring Black women didn't go to university in Canada, and Black women are tokenized in the sense that they cannot just be one Black person whose internal politics matches the current rung on the ever-present ladder of respectability. This is because we are not monolithic and deserve to be heard, even when we do not meet the unrealistic standards of whiteness. Wow, that is beautifully written. My question, therefore, is what is being done to center and not tokenize the groups marginalized from their own movements? And how do we engage in active reflection as we intentionally or unintentionally replicate the systems of harm against those who we claim to want to protect and support? Who would like to answer that first?
I would love to answer this one because this one's very near and dear to my heart. So the feminist movement has definitely been that has robbed Black women the wrong way. The most out of all the movements, it has been the one that a lot of Black women have struggled with. A lot of Black women have a real difficulty calling themselves feminist. And that is because when we look at the feminist movement, the issues that Black women face are very different than the issues our white counterparts face. Because Black people as a whole are not able to separate their Blackness from their womanhood. These are not 2 things that exist separately. So when we deal with what is being done in the communities to make sure that Black voices are centered and not tokenized, that's something I think the feminist movement struggles with, because to do that, we then have to take accountability for the fact that we have done harm. That harm has been done, and when we are trying to do so much good and make and advance women, we then have to sit back and be like, oh, but to do that, I have to take accountability on the fact that this entire movement has not always been beneficial to those who it needs to be. So misogyny is one thing that the feminist movement works really hard to fight and advocate for, but it doesn't take a look at misogynoir, which is a whole different thing. It takes all the issues that women are facing as a whole and then adds the fact that race is doubled on top of that. So when we need our feminist movement to definitely be more intersectional when we deal with it. We're not just dealing with womanhood, we're not just dealing with race, we're not just dealing with sexuality. These are things that our feminist movement now needs to take a whole and build a holistic way forward. Just because if we're trying to advocate for all women everywhere, we need to understand not all women everywhere face the same issues. The issues that a trans woman is facing could be very different from the issues that a Black woman is facing. The issues that a Black trans woman is facing are different than a white trans woman. The issues a straight woman is facing are different from the issues an LGBTQ woman is facing. So when we look at our feminist movement, we need a more intersectional scope. We need to take more voices and more opinions and more experiences for us to build a way forward, so that one, when we're dealing with Blackness, as it has been the biggest issue for a lot of feminists, we need to also take accountability for where the movement has left people behind and harmed people before we can move forward. The best way to do that is to accept responsibility and then ask those voices with actual impact, what can we do to make this more holistic, to bring your voices to the table and not just have you there for representation, but not take into account what your experiences have been.
So good. Gina Brown just says, thank you for sharing those points. I'm learning so much. That was excellent. Okay. Who would like to address this question from Raven next?
I'll jump in real quick. Firstly, to say a big yes to everything Lauren Bell just said. Like, absolutely yes. Speaking, from my perspective, I think it's really important that we, as non-Black people, recognize and call out anti-Blackness in our own communities. And I'm including, myself. There is, unfortunately, a large amount of anti-Blackness in Indigenous communities. So I think we have a lot of work to do to really get used to having these uncomfortable conversations and working on it, working on it in our own circles, because it's there. Like, maybe you don't recognize what it looks like, but I guarantee you there is anti-Blackness in your life. And I think we all need to just, like, as non-Black people, recognize what that looks like and get used to, calling that out and working on it and working and reading and learning. So much of what we do in this general, like, big sphere of activism and feminism, a lot of it is just learning and unlearning constantly and helping our loved ones in our lives do the same thing, and figuring out how that works for you. And I think a lot of ways that we can help address these issues, like anti-Blackness in our communities, is really just like learning and unlearning together. And sometimes people mess up, and have patience and give a bit of leeway, but we gotta do it. We gotta try. I mean, what are we doing if we're not trying?
Excellent. It's those conversations around the family table. Sometimes I think about going home at the holidays and some of my family members, and it's heavy, it's hard, but you've got to try. Well said, Amy. Okay, Mary Lynn, which one of you would like to go next?
I get not on mute, so I'm going to jump in. If that's okay.
Sure.
I just want to say that, if people in the Black community feel that feminism has left them behind, then feminism has left them behind. And we need to change that. We need to learn, and I think that we need to do that. Part of the way that we need to do that is by recognizing that we actually live in a racist society. And my mother, raised my sister and I to believe that all people are equal, but she maintains the view that Newfoundlanders are not racist. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, they're not like that. They're very welcoming people, and they're not racist. And I have this argument with her that we don't even see it because we're so protected from it by our whiteness. And we have to open our eyes to it, and we have to get others in the women's movement to open our eyes to it. We don't get to say we're not racist if people of color are telling us that we are. We have to listen to those voices and learn from them.
If Black women say they've been left out, I love that line. They've been left out. Excellent. And Mary?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, and I'm learning so much, but I agree 100% with all the panelists. I think we have to, in an organization like mine, in the trade union movement, where we deal, as a feminist and as a group of people who are committed to equality, I think we first of all have to recognize that all types of racism are interlinked. I think we also need to recognize that our movement is an 85-year-old colonial structure, and that we need to understand that sexism and racism exists within our labor movement too, and that's part of the challenge that we have. So I think first we have to acknowledge all that, and then we have to make sure that everything we do, and that's to I think Amy made that point, everything we do has to go through that lens of understanding that not everybody is discriminated against the same way, like the intersection within feminism, the intersection within racism and other forms of discrimination. So we need to listen very carefully to those workers and what they tell us, and those women and what they tell us, and those community partners that we liaise with and what they tell us. And then our work needs to be informed by that, and we need to put that lens on every single thing we do, whether we're doing collective bargaining issues, or whether we're advocating at the government level, or whether we're looking at our own structures and how we change that. We need to listen, make space, but not just it just can't be formative. We really have to measure up to what we're hearing and make those changes and listen very, very carefully. There's a cultural impact within employers as well, and I think unions have members of the unions who are representative of all groups, marginalized groups, have to understand that the unions have their back, and they only understand that if we actually listen to them and be intentional about the spaces that we create for them and who fills them, and make sure that they feel empowered.
Such important work. Thank you, Mary. Thank you all for those answers. Great work. Our